Hi, I'm Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in the game From the Moon. This is a fairly heavyweight game that I played recently with two other players, and it took about 2.5 hours. Here's what From the Moon looks like. So thematically, we are on the moon, I believe. I believe we're on the moon, and we're trying to repair some of our ships to get off the moon. And meanwhile, we're also building a moon base. We're building this whole area on the moon itself. Here's what it kind of looks like. These are tiles that are put out there. I think this is a digital rendering. Oh no, this is this is digital rendering. But to go out on the moon from the safety of our oxygenated habitats, you take these workers. These vehicles are the workers themselves, and you load them up with people. So the people themselves aren't really the workers, although they are doing the work. You're sending them out on these Mars rovers, and you can load up each rover with up to 3 different people, or the same people. There's black, there's gray, and there's blue over here. So I could have a ship full of the gray. I could have a mix of blue, black, and gray. It's up to me how I do that. And you send these out onto the board to gain different benefits. That, I think, is a really neat concept. It reminds me a little bit of Anachrony. It's a little bit different than Anachrony, but it's along the same lines where you have this one kind of giant worker that you're loading up with smaller workers that give you more actions when you place them on the action spaces. There's also a neat little puzzle, and I don't quite have a photo of it here, but it's a puzzle that you accomplish on this part of your player mat where you're gaining these purple tiles. And whenever you place a purple tile, you activate, or you can activate, all the tiles in the same row or column. It's a neat little mini game. I don't know the theme for this mini game, but it is pretty satisfying to activate all these different rows and columns as you are placing the tiles. Now, my favorite mechanism in the game has to do with these ships. Here are a few. These are all 3 ships here. These are the ships that we're repairing. So there are a lot of games like this, a lot of Euro games that have players fulfilling contracts and missions and goals. And typically this involves gathering some resources and then paying those resources to complete a goal. And with varying degrees of abstraction, ranging from like Lords of Waterdeep, where you're going on these missions, kind of, but you're really just paying some cubes and accomplishing them. Really well done system, not all that thematic feeling other than the flavor text. There are other games that have this same type of thing where it's just a customer wants 3 blues and 1 red and one brown, and you pay those, and the customer's happy, and they give you some points and maybe some other things. In this game, I really, really like how the theme is tied to this mission element. The missions themselves are very similar to what I just described. You're gathering some resources so that you can pay for these different missions. But the missions, the objectives, the goals here are, at least from my understanding, are repairing the ship, preparing the ship for launch. And so what you see here is actually an image of the ship when all the tiles have been removed from it, because at the beginning of the game, each of these spots are covered with a tile, and you need to repair the ship by paying what looks like these costs, so they're similar costs, to the tiles themselves to repair this damage to the ship. Maybe it's even the idea that you're building the ship, but it felt a little bit like we were repairing a ship that had a bunch of damage on it. That was the goal, paying resources to remove a tile. And then you have a secondary goal printed on the ship itself of loading up the ship with things so that the ship can leave the moon with all these supplies that you've gathered. So this particular vehicle, spaceship, it wants water here. It wants a little bit of food. And then it wants some other things too. It wants like a worker on it to steer the ship and things like that. And here's another one, different resources. This is the steel. Yeah, and this one wants a worker as well. This one's one of those purple tiles I was talking about, and they're worth different values of points. Here's the last one here. I really, really liked the theme of repairing these ships or building them, whatever it is. Either way, it works thematically as the goals itself. It made the mission completion, the goal completion, feel a lot less abstract. And all of us were doing it. So even though in a very competitive game, we were all working towards repairing these ships, getting points from it, and then loading up the ships to send away. And that actually had a gameplay impact too, because once you sent the ship away, you couldn't put anything else on it. That ship was gone, and you couldn't put any other resources on that ship. So that is my favorite mechanism in this game. This truly thematic design around paying resources to complete goals, I thought was done really, really well in From the Moon. I'd love to hear your examples if you can think of other games with similar goals. You're paying some resources to complete a goal. where it felt truly thematic, where the theme made sense for that game. Let me know in the comments below, or if you have a different favorite mechanism in From the Moon, I'd love to hear about that as well. Thanks.